everyone, you're listening to Cinema 5000. Hey, it's me, it's Mallory. I've got some movies to talk to you about on this episode that are now in theaters, and also some movies that are coming soon, hopefully to theaters, that I saw at the Independent Film Festival of Boston. I have been going to the Independent Film Festival of Boston since it began in 2003. Didn't go every single year. There were some years I couldn't go, life, being in college in Chicago and such. But yeah, I'm a devotee to the festival. Been going for a long time. Been, through the ropes of various days in bad weather. And one year I even volunteered and handed out chips in the rain. It's been a long time since that. But it's always a good time. And I'm just happy I got to go. There were a number of films playing that I was aware of, and then some stuff I had never heard of before, but we'll talk about it in just a moment. We're at 5,775 films, but we're going to start actually with something that's technically a rewatch, which is Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith from 2005, directed by George Lucas. The tagline is, "The saga is complete. The evil Darth Sidious enacts his final plan for unlimited power, and the heroic Jedi Anakin Skywalker must choose a side." So I'm only bringing this up here because it was a rewatch because, well, it is still in theaters this week and will be gone soon, but the 20th anniversary re-release happened. I went on a Friday night and saw it with a bunch of teenagers who probably weren't even born when this movie came out, and I saw it at the same theater I saw it at when it first came out. I went to a midnight show and just remember really enjoying it back then and still had a good time with this. It's only a 3-star rating for me. I just think the prequels themselves, they're not excellent. They're not great. They're fun. They're all right. On the scale of what Star Wars can be, these could technically be better, but I just enjoyed myself. I'm a little, is flummoxed the right word? Regarding the adoration that Hayden Christensen gets, because I don't think he's great in this movie. I don't think anybody would say he's great in this movie, but I guess according to the internet, a number of people are very attracted to him and the shirtless scenes he has and the long hair he has in this film. I think the real person who I think deserves credit when it comes to the cast in this film is, in fact, Ian McDiarmid, who plays Darth Sidious or Senator Palpatine. I just think he's really terrific and not gotten enough credit for his part because he has to toe the line of being believable to everybody around him as being just a regular dude, when the truth of the matter is that he is essentially going to overthrow everything and get everybody killed, Yeah, so I like Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Like I said, 3 stars. It's a fine film. It's a good time. The CGI, let's just say, it looks pretty good these days considering all that Hollywood is and isn't doing with that kind of material right now. So 20 years on, still a good time, still nice to look at. But let's talk about April from 2024, directed by Dia Kulimbegishvili. This film I saw at the Independent Film Festival of Boston, which takes place at the Somerville Theater and the Brattle Theater, and they do closing night at the Coolidge Corner Theater in their big screen. And I was looking forward to this movie. It does not have a tagline. Let's talk about it. Nina, an OBGYN, faces accusations after a newborn's death. Her life undergoes scrutiny during the investigation. She persists in her medical duties, determined to provide care others hesitate to offer, despite risks. This, unfortunately, was a movie that I was looking forward to and got the chance to see in the theater, and I just really didn't care for. I think its abstract nature of how it portrays Nina's experience and the environments around her and life in this small village. The film is a Georgian production. I do believe it's shot in Georgia. It's a really lovely looking movie. Like, there's really good cinematography, good use of sound, but I think as a actual narrative feature and what it's presenting, I just wasn't really into it. Its way it shows these spaces, and whether they are indoors or outdoors, all felt a little, I don't know, how do you say it? This is like slow cinema that I really like slow cinema. I like when movies take their time and really let you feel the spaces, but I really wasn't convinced by this one. And on top of that, I feel like this kind of abstract art house film that's about a women's rights and abortion and however it wants to portray it. It just felt like it's kind of been done. It's a little derivative, and I can't really get on board with this. It's it's a well-made movie. I just think it's a matter of what I'm into and this working for me but not working for me. I can absolutely see this being a movie that other folks would enjoy quite a bit, especially in a theater. Like I said, it's nice to look at. But I have to give this only 2 stars. I just felt like it missed the mark for me, even though it was checking those boxes and it was something I was looking forward to, because I think it has a limited release coming this month. But I have to give April, like I said, from 2024, directed by Dia Kulumbeshvili, 2 stars. So don't let me be the hater that persuades you not to see this movie if you're looking forward to it. I just, not my kind of film, unfortunately, despite having the pieces of something I would be into. Another film I saw at the Somerville Theater is Mooch, directed by Jeff Ryan. This movie does not have a release just yet. The film, when I saw it, it was kind of like the Saturday night big feature in the main, like, Somerville Theater, like theater number 1, like where they have performances, things beyond just movies. I went into this just being like, well, I think I should just see this because it's like kind of like the big movie of the night. I will say, this was maybe not my kind of movie, but it still made me laugh. The story goes like this. Shane, a struggling 30-year-old caddy, stumbles into a new gig, a private eye for a New Jersey nightclub owner. And this nightclub owner is definitely a guy you don't want to mess with. So Jeff, who in the film is actually 29, not 30, his character Shane, Jeff Ryan, that is the director and writer, his character Shane kind of bumbles through life, just taking advantage of people. He is remarkably in a relationship, and a long-term one as well, so he's not good with his money, he's not really good with his relationships, his friendships, and how he takes care of others and himself. So I think this is, how do I say it? This is really just not a movie I would have seen other than this setting, and I think this was the right setting to see it in. Now, granted, when I saw it, there are a lot of people who were part of the production that are, laughing along, having a good time. For me, as an outsider, the humor, while it was not really my thing, did entertain me at times. It's not a badly made film. In fact, I would say it's pretty competent in what it's trying to do, because it's not a huge Hollywood production. This feels like a homegrown film. I am just curious, like, what Jeff Ryan could do if he maybe worked with someone else when it comes to the writing and the actual vision for his filmmaking, because I feel like there's potential there that's not really tapped yet, and I think that's a compliment. That's not to say this is a bad movie. I did give this 2.5 stars because it did, like I said, entertain me at times, but it's ultimately just not my thing. Though, it felt relatively well cast in the, characters it had, and I do want to mention just a little shout out to Ian Dooley, who is a New Hampshire actor who is also in the movie The Holdovers. You might recognize him. He plays one of the kids that Shane sort of battles against when it comes to getting caddy assignments at the country club that he works at, and Mooch, I mean, it might not be a film I remember months from now, but I have to say, I am curious to see what Jeff Ryan does next as a filmmaker, because, he hasn't made many movies, and he is very much a small-time creator, but he's a creator nonetheless, so, it's like, I'm curious, like, if this movie was his breakout into maybe doing something with somebody else, maybe co-writing a feature film, like, with a big, how do I say, a notable working partner, producer, something, director, anything else from there, because I do see potential even if this isn't my thing. So Mooch, directed by Jeff Ryan, written by Jeff Ryan, and starring Jeff Ryan, I gave this 2.5 stars, and this does make me really curious about another movie he made that played at the Independent Film Festival of Boston. That's called Mass Hysteria. I haven't seen that. I know it's on Tubi, and I think I'm gonna check it out sometime soon. Very curious about, like, how that is, and what other offering Jeff Ryan has to offer. So, in the midst of the festival, on my second day on the Sunday, I went ahead and saw Sinners from 2025, directed by Ryan Coogler. The tagline is Dance with the Devil. Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. I was a week late on seeing this just because timing, life, essentially. Everything is just, I'm busy. I'm a busy person. But Sinners, wow, what a production. What a film. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Don't let this one go by the wayside. If you're interested in seeing it, like, go see it right now. And you might not even have to wait to see it, I don't know, how should I say it, like, miss it in theaters, because I think it's going to be in theaters in a while. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. This is the film that has, like, some kind of, I feel like it's got the staying power to be around for a bit, and I'm hoping I can get another shot to see it, because Sinners feels like Ryan Coogler got the keys to the castle and got to make the movie he wanted to make, full stop. Like, his writing, his directing, his cast. We've got Michael B. Jordan, who he's worked with before. Miles Caton, who is a new star. He is really terrific as Sammy, a young guitarist. We have Haley Steinfeld here. Wunmi Mosaku, Jack O'Connell, Delroy Lindo, Omar Benson Miller, Jamie Lawson, Lola Kirk. I have to laugh. When she showed up, I was just like, oh no, baby Tracy. She's in one of my favorite movies of all time, Mistress America, and she's the lead of that film. But this is a very much layered film, in that there's a lot of stuff here about the history of the South within the Delta, Mississippi, and then talking about history of music. This is like a secret musical movie, and also talking about race relations, and this isn't necessarily going to hit you over the head with that subject matter. Oh no, it all ties itself together in a very, very entertaining package. This is a movie that I think is going to be something people talk about for years to come. I won't be surprised if this is still something we're talking about, let's just say, like, next winter award season, of getting accolades and notices about being one of the best films of the year. I think that's inevitable. Who knows what's going to be my favorite movie of the year, but for now, I would say Sinners is like a big major achievement in just what its production is, who's in the film, what kind of parts they get, and the script, and the way that Ryan Coogler executes this movie. It's so impressive. I wish every movie could be like this, like, feel so lived in. And I have to say, there were some scenes that, when we got to see the town that the brothers Smoke and Stack are in, it just made me, like, throw right back to thinking about another timeline, like Killers of the Flower Moon. It just made me think of that, like, the amount of value in the production, how big it was and grand. It's like, I never thought Ryan Coogler wasn't capable of this kind of movie, but he's it. Like, this is his, like, big, like, yeah, I did the Black Panther movies, and this is what I'm going to follow up with, something that feels like a real passion project. Like, he's really put his talents out there, and we're so lucky that he is, as a filmmaker, providing that to us as audiences in such a big, wide release with just, he's got it. I'm so excited to see what he does next. He doesn't need to do a Sinners sequel. I know people on the internet are like, oh yeah, do another one of this. Well, don't you want to see what else he has in mind? Like, when it comes to talent like this, it's so impressive. And, like, the music, that was the only thing I was kind of left wanting more of. I wanted more musical performances. I wouldn't be surprised if there was, like, a director's cut that just had, like, extended sequences of music performance. 'Cause this just, it hit. Like, everything about this movie, whether it's something you see as a dramatic piece or something as a horror film, it just was a really good time. And I had a great time, despite somebody next to me being a bit shaky in their seat almost the entire time and getting up constantly to go to do whatever they needed to do or get. And I have to say, it takes a good movie to overcome what kind of things were going on that time in the theater. I went and saw this at the AMC Boston Common Theater, which I had never been to the IMAX theater of, and every time I've been to this theater, it's like usually a showtime I'm going to where it's not crowded. There's like almost nobody there, but this IMAX showing in the morning was definitely sold out, and I really don't like their seats. There's almost no leg room for, like, you're walking up to get up to go to something, you're gonna knock somebody's knees, and the seats they don't recline. They're okay as far as, like, comfort, but Yeah, not so great. RPX at Regal, I am going to now very much appreciate that experience because you got legroom, the chairs were kind. But regardless, like I said, this movie overcame a lot for my personal viewing. And I really highly recommend you go see Sinners. Go see it. And I do want to shout out the railroad coordinator for consultant for this movie. I do believe the person who was the railroad consultant, Kelly Lynch, on this film, I saw his name in the credits. I want to assume it's the same guy I went to college with because I knew a guy in film school in Chicago who also really loved the railroad, and I looked up his website and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the same guy. It just so happens I was sitting there in the theater and I look up and I see the name and I'm like, there's no way. But I think there's a really good shot. So shout out to him. I noted him on my Letterboxd review because I'm just like really, that makes me happy. Like somebody I know contributed to this grand achievement. Like this is epic filmmaking, full stop. Like we don't get movies like this every day where it just feels like more than just a movie. This is like an experience. So 4 stars for Sinners from 2025, directed by Ryan Coogler. I can't wait to see this again. And I can't wait to see what the future is when it comes to everybody in this movie getting recognition of some sort, because they deserve it. Okay, now, going back to the Independent Film Festival of Boston, I headed to the Brattle Theater to catch a couple films. The first one was Happyend from 2024, directed by Neo Sora. The tagline is, "Something big is about to change." A near-future city in Japan awaits destruction as it's rocked by a series of foreshocks that predict a larger, more disastrous quake on the horizon. With the anxiety looming over them, a group of teenage best friends and musicians get into typical teenager trouble that tests the strength of their relationships. This is a movie about just youth being used, but also dealing with an oppressive, like, schooling situation where just within society they can get knocked down and be reprimanded for their behaviors. And these are just normal behaviors, things teenagers do, things that, like, help them grow up and learn more about the world. This was not, like, my favorite movie of the festival, but it was a very enjoyable watch. Like, I don't have too much to say about it because it's pretty cut and dry about what it's trying to tell you, and we learn about these characters and their relationships together, and maybe the things they're struggling with at home, or what their education is, and, like, whether they care or not. And I hope this gets, like, some kind of release in the United States so I can tell more people about it and maybe give it another look. It's a very wonderfully shot film, and as it takes place in Japan, there's a lot of industrial focus about the cities that they're in and also their learning environment. And I would recommend this one. I gave it 3 stars. So Happyend from 2024, directed by Neo Sora. Yeah, it's a dramatic film about youth and culture and oppression and how it sort of seeps into their daily lives and how they grapple with it as emerging, maturing folks. Up next, we have Peacock from 2024, directed by Bernhard Wegner. The tagline is, "Am I real? Matthias is a master of his profession. Do you need a cultured boyfriend to impress your friends? A perfect son to influence your business partner's opinion of you? Or maybe just a sparring partner to rehearse an argument? Whatever it is, just rent Matthias. While he excels at pretending to be someone else every day, just being himself is the real challenge." I quite enjoyed this film. I gave this 3.5 stars. It stars Albrecht Schuck as Matthias, and he is a master of performance in everyday life, but everyday life in his job. As a regular person, his interactions with his girlfriend are not very good. He does not make decisions. He's very accommodating in ways that annoy her, and unfortunately their relationship is not doing so good in the film. And then Matthias kind of has to find his own way as an individual because he has lost his own identity. I don't know if there's anything else to say about the film as far as that. It is pretty simple. It is this man sort of coming apart, but then trying to figure out who he is, and there's some tragedy along the way and some humor. And I found this to be really delightful and a little sad and a little dark as he tried to figure out his self. I mean, the poster itself says, "Peacock, am I real?" I think that's the direct translation of the title. Though Peacock, I mean, he's a flowery character. He's a bit how shall I say it? He's a bit showboaty in some ways, but also a little charming, and he's an interesting character, and I really like this lead performance here. My greatest fear, though, is despite this having American distribution by Oscilloscope Laboratories, I would assume it's coming soon this year. They don't have it on their website as a release yet. But my greatest fear is that this movie gets remade for the English language and it stars someone like Ryan Reynolds. It just seems inevitable. Oh no, I can't believe I had to put it out in the universe. I don't even want to type it up, but I know it's going to be in the transcript from this episode. But there's just something about this movie that I found, it wasn't like necessarily the most original film, but there's a charm to it that I quite enjoyed as Matthias tries to figure out himself and figure out what kind of mess he's gotten himself into. And it does kind of remind me a little bit of another filmmaker, one who is Greek, who has kind of gotten the notoriety for his movies that are a bit more challenging and dark and a little perverted along the way for comedic cinema. Here you go, whatever. This feels a little in line with that, but also not as nasty, and it's more going for that existential questioning of the self. But I quite enjoyed Peacock from 2024, directed by Bernhard Wegner. Gave this 3.5 stars, and like I said, Albert Schuck's performance, I don't know if I'm saying his last name right. He was really great. I'd probably watch him in anything else in the future. And this was such a performance that, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he just, like, got the call to be a villain in some kind of new up-and-coming action movie or something. I know they're not really doing James Bonds anymore, but yeah, he's great. And he's in this other movie called System Crasher, which I have in my watch list. I do need to watch that soon, knowing he's in that. So I'll give it a shot. Give it a shot soon. So when the film festival was over the following day, I got the chance to go back to Boston for some fun, and I got the chance to see the Shrouds from 2024, though just getting released now, stateside, directed by David Cronenberg. The tagline is, "How dark are you willing to go?" Inconsolable since the death of his wife, Karsh, a prominent businessman, invents a revolutionary and controversial technology that enables the living to monitor the dear departed in their shrouds. One night, multiple graves, including that of Karsh's wife, are desecrated, and he sets out to track down the perpetrators. Vincent Cassel plays Karsh. He is this man who is he's a fairly rich fellow, and he has this lovely restaurant that overlooks this graveyard he has created, and living in the graveyard is the decaying body of his wife who passed away. Karsh is a man who is romantic but also really not able to move on from his life and grief of losing his wife, and he feels he needs to protect her, and that's why he tries to keep her in this graveyard. It's a really creepy, strange thing, like always peering in on the decaying body of your wife. There's a there's a lot of pieces to this film, different people involved, including Karsh's wife's sister Terry, who's played by Diane Kruger, and then how technology infiltrates Karsh's life, not just his wife but his life, I mean technically both, and sort of giving him his ability to not move on, really. It just enables him further. I found this to be a really fascinating and haunting film. The ending of this was really troubling to me. And it made me pause and think, like, when it comes to loss and death, like, how do we move on or how do we not move on? And I think Cronenberg, I mean, it's been published that he's really grappling in this film with the loss of his wife, and Karsh is really an offshoot of himself in some ways. You can tell. I mean, I don't know if apparently he didn't realize this, but Vincent Cassel with his forehead, his hairline, and the hair itself really kind of looks like David Cronenberg here in the film. It's kind of funny. Might just be a total coincidence, but the way this movie wants to talk about how technology is there for good things and bad things. Wow, I don't want to spoil it, but I found this to be yeah, a really captivating film. I gave it 3.5 stars. Like, it's not, obviously I'm not as like uh really excited about this like I am about Sinners, but I've been thinking about this movie for days now, and I really want to see this again sometime soon. Like I said, I want to see Sinners again too, but there was just something about this movie and how it talks about our relationships and our ability to move on or not that really was something different, something new, and I just found it to be like incredible. Yeah, so 3.5 stars for the Shrouds, directed by David Cronenberg. If you're one of those weirdos, not really. It's not really that weird, but the ideas and what it's talking about certainly are going places that I hadn't really thought of before. So maybe it is weird, but David Cronenberg, if you haven't seen any of his films, I would assume you have if you're listening to this podcast, but I've seen a majority of his feature films. Some of my favorites are Crash and Dead Ringers. The Fly is kind of like the more accessible one of his works, but he's just a very challenging filmmaker, and I really appreciate that about him, even when I don't really care for his works. And I'm thinking I should get into rewatching some of his movies that I haven't seen in a long time, like A Dangerous Method. I have not seen Shivers. I have seen Rabid, so as far as his earlier works. And I'm curious about Spider. I didn't like Spider when that came out. But he's just a fascinating filmmaker, and if by chance, I hate to say it, if by chance this is his last film, what a way to go out. There's just so much here I really, really enjoyed and found to be like very perceptive in ways that, just movies just kind of aren't in some ways. Yeah. But let's move on. So why was I in Boston? Why did I have the chance to see the Shrouds? Well, on this past Monday night, Francis Ford Coppola came to the Coolidge Corner Theater, and along with him was a screening of Megalopolis, which I had seen last fall when it came out in theaters, so I got to rewatch it again, but this time with more of an audience, because when I saw it back in the theater, there were not very many people. There were some people. And this was a sellout crowd of 400 and something people, all there to watch the film together. Unfortunately, I had somebody next to me who laughed at most things and went as the film went on. I was not happy, but I could not move my seat. Sellout crowd. What are you gonna do? But I enjoy Megalopolis. I gave it 3.5 stars on this rewatch. I find it to be a very fascinating and beautiful film with all its flaws, and I mean, it doesn't need to be perfect for me to really enjoy it, and I like Adam Driver in this. It's a chaotic film. It's a beautiful film. It's messy, and I feel like this is a movie, if it was on cable a lot, I'd probably just watch it. I just find a lot of this to be very enjoyable, even when it's going into areas that I find a little bit predictable and, not just foretold within the story, but just kind of where these kinds of movies go. Though it does feel unique to me, and I think the visual language of this movie is really fantastic. So Francis Ford Coppola being there in person, it was kind of like, you gotta be there. And I was so excited to see him, though unfortunately this was not your standard Q&A kind of experience with him there. There was a whiteboard where he started to talk about things in life and what's important and what we need, and I had to leave after half an hour because I was not going to miss my bus home. I also was not going to stay really, really late and try to get a bus through Logan Airport. I could do that. I was just not going to do that. My life cannot accommodate that right now. I'm too busy. But just seeing Francis Ford Coppola talk for like half an hour about his life, and I feel so lucky to have, lived in this lifetime to see the movies that he's made and been there to see his newer films in the theater. I know he hasn't made that many, bright, shining films in recent times, like things that have gotten like the accolades of his past, on that level. I haven't seen Twixt. Yeah, but I did really, really enjoy Tetro. Have you guys seen Tetro? You guys should see Tetro. I think Tetro is fantastic. And Youth Without Youth, another movie that's a little zany, a little quirky, but I still quite enjoyed when I watched it, even with some of its flaws. Yeah, he's not a perfect filmmaker, but he's always made interesting movies. Somebody who has left his mark on cinema, for better or worse, and done some of the great classic films like people talk about to this day. We'll always talk about your Apocalypse Now, your Godfather, excuse me. that trilogy. And, it warms my heart to think that, like, people are, like, watching his films, like One from the Heart, which were, like, go for broke kind of productions that were, flops when their releases were happening, but still get appreciated to this day. Like, he has made an impact on cinema to a large, grand degree. And, Megalopolis, I think is part of that picture. I know some people really don't care for that movie, but I think it's good. Wow. The Letterboxd average on this is a 2.3. Guys, come on. But yeah, it's 3.5 stars for me for Megalopolis, and seeing Francis Ford Coppola in person was great. I'm so glad I got to go. But yeah, so that was my experience with the Independent Film Festival of Boston, and any movies I saw, seeing Megalopolis again. Yeah, and I think that is basically the episode, but we need to talk about what's coming soon. Let me go to, like, the release calendar, see what's coming up. There's this movie in theaters this weekend called Rosario. I don't think I have the chance to see that, but I am going to see Bonjour Tristesse, the remake of that. Another remake of that story. It has Chloe Sevigny in it and Clive Spang, so I have to be there. I got my ticket. It's weird. My theater only has, like, a couple show times every day for it, and they're in the morning and early afternoon, but I'm going to make it work. Other films coming that I'm going to see, I don't really know. We're coming into, like, what is technically the summer releases. I'm just looking at the calendar and I just don't know. I really don't. I might just go see Hurry Up Tomorrow to have an opinion on it. I'm not sure it's going to entertain me. The trailers I find a little annoying and a bit incoherent for what I think it's trying to say. But I think Final Destination Bloodlines is in the future for movies I will see and talk to you about. And Regal is having a mystery movie soon. I think I might just have to go to that to have something to talk about. But I'll be getting back into watching James Bond films with my sister. We're doing James Bonding. And other movies I might check out. Like, I have so many things. Well, here we go, over here. Do you hear that? That's a VHS copy of a movie. That is The Real McCoy with Kim Basinger and Val Kilmer. I bought this like maybe a year ago or so on VHS, and I own it. I've always wanted to see it. Now that we've lost Val Kilmer, R.I.P. Love you, Val. I'm gonna give some of his movies I haven't seen a shot. And Thunderheart, that's one I really, really want to see soon. I know it's coming to the Brattle Theater, but I just won't be able to go to that, unfortunately. So I'll get myself a copy or rent it, figure it out, and watch it. And I'm curious to see what else is coming to streaming soon. Granted, I do have a gigantic watch list on Letterboxd. How many movies are in my watch list? 774 films. So, I got some options. But we'll talk about all this stuff soon, and thank you so much for listening. This has been Cinema 5000. I'm Mallory. Go to cinema5000.com for updates. If you're listening on YouTube, why don't you subscribe? I don't have many subscribers. People are watching and listening through there, though. I know you're there. Cinema 5000 on Bluesky, and cinema5kpod@gmail.com is the email address. I do thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you soon. We got more movies to watch in the future, more good times to be have. All right, take care. Bye.